This episode of the podcast is brought to you by our friends at Track Farms and their excellent CBD products. I've been talking a little on the podcast about an injury I got in jiu-jitsu. Hey, that's kind of how the game goes. And the one thing I know is that I've been counting on the CBD to help keep my inflammation down so I can get healed up. Finally starting to get back into that realm, getting to working on it, shoulders getting better. Honestly, if you have not yet tried CBD, it is well past time. So jump on board, go to track-farms.com, enter the code STRANGERS at checkout for 15% off your order. That is track-farms.com, enter the code STRANGERS. Brittany Charboneau, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you're on the show today. I'll give people some background on where we are and who you are and what you do. But I'm very amped up for today's episode. So we're in Denver again, the old stomping grounds for me. Very nostalgic being back here. It's been very cool. And I found you on Instagram because you are the funny runner. This is your vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very appealing. So I think today we're going to talk about how running can be fun and all these great things. For the listeners, I'm completely out of breath because you immediately put me through a workout to get up to the third floor of your home here, which is lovely. But man, you leave Denver for like 2 seconds and you just...
It goes away quick.
Yeah.
Why do you think we train here and then race at sea level?
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've always heard that was a thing. I was never, competitive enough to be a part of that, but that's very cool.
Wait till you go, like, wherever your next stop is, wait till you get there because you're just going to be power walking like a champion.
Yeah,
You're just going to have
absolutely.
so much air.
Yeah. Well, I'm also I'm so down and out right now. You invited me on a run and I was like, first of all, there's no way at this altitude. But second, I got a bad injury from jiu-jitsu, but I'm still waiting for it to heal. And I'm using that as my excuse to not work out like at all.
Sure.
You know how it is. It's
Yeah.
oh, my shoulder's hurt. I can't go run.
Can't.
Yeah. So that's been my MO lately, and I'm totally out of it. It's going to take me a while to get back, but, it's good. We be patient.
You're
through
doing
injuries.
great.
Yeah.
You're doing great. We're just going to take this really slow.
Very nice. So let's talk about some running stuff. So I think that the reason I had found you was because this documentary had come out about you called The Funny Runner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just watched it the other day. Loved it.
Thanks.
And it really gave me some insight to your story, which is phenomenal.
Thanks.
So I really hope we get into that. But tell the people a little bit about how this all got started so they get some background on you.
Yeah. So I have been a runner since I was maybe 13 or so. It was kind of the social thing to do in middle school. So I just kind of fell into it with that. I'm not a particularly coordinated person. So running was a great individual sport and something I could do that, was competitive with myself.
Right.
So got into that and loved it, ran through high school, ran a little bit in college, and then started to get into marathoning after college, just recreationally, and then started to set some goals for running. And so I ended up winning a race here in Denver a couple years ago, and that was kind of my aha moment of, oh, I think I'm actually good at this if I set my mind to it. So I decided after that I was going to quit my job and go become a professional runner. After this one win here in Denver in this kind of local race,
What race was it?
It was the Colfax Marathon.
Oh, okay. But it was a marathon though.
It was a marathon.
So
yeah.
You did win a marathon.
Yes.
That's not no
Okay.
reason
You're
to
right.
become a professional runner.
You're right. But it was if we're looking at let's look at times, I was a good 20 minutes off of competitive times
Okay.
to go to quit my job. And at the same time, so that's the runner part. And then the funny part is at the same time, I had just moved back from Chicago. I was studying comedy out there. And so I also had this big dream that I wanted to do comedy simultaneously with running. And I was like, okay, I'm going to quit my job, but this doesn't exist to my knowledge. This being funny and being a runner as a profession doesn't exist. So I was like, I need to brand this. I need to make it something. So I have a response when people ask what I do for a living. I need to say, it's this because it exists. So it sounds a little bit more legit. And so I just called myself the Funny Runner, and it lasted for a while. I was doing some comedy here and there throughout. I was teaching improv here in Denver, getting some acting gigs, things like that. But obviously running started to really take off. And so that kind of took hold. So then I finally, over the years, I was like, well, even though I'm not actively doing comedy, I'm so funny. So so that's kind of where it's evolved. So, and as you can see, my world is very colorful and very me. So that's kind of where it all conglomerates together. And then the Funny Runner documentary, that's just kind of where it's just a glimpse into the past couple of years in my professional career as a runner and just what my world has kind of evolved into.
Yeah, I love it. So, and I feel like I always love when people take all of the things that they like to do and put them together. And I try to do that same thing. So like this podcast has never had just like one topic. It's like, okay, I'm going to talk about sourdough and jujitsu and dinosaurs and whatever, you know. I think that we get pigeonholed as people. I actually like went way too deep on this in another episode. But I think that we all get pigeonholed into being like, you need to be this one thing. You need to be this one identity. Yeah. And I do think people really equate identity with like a hobby or an interest so quickly.
Totally.
When life is long and there's like a lot of different things that you can get up to and do. I'm just watching my camera setup from the cat here, which
he's just curious.
He's being very gentle. Yeah. Absolutely.
You're so right, though. I think that it is this. I definitely have fallen into that and do fall into it as I'm a runner, you know, and right now I'm almost kind of having to dissociate myself a little bit from I am a road runner to now I am a trail runner, and then also letting go of that of like I'm just a great runner. Like why do I need to have these labels? So it's just so interesting how that all evolves and how you do just get attached to these identity pieces. Yeah. And then if something goes away, like the comedy piece, I had kind of an identity crisis with that because I was, especially at the beginning of the film, we had to edit out. We finally edited out because I was like needed to justify the funny part. I needed to tell people like I have a background in comedy. I don't currently do comedy, but all of these things. No, I don't do stand-up. I've never done stand-up. It's improv. It's like kind of like sketch comedy, all these things.
Right.
And finally just letting it go and just being like, I'm just me. I'm just funny and that's enough and that's okay.
Yeah. I think it's kind of an internet phenomenon, honestly, because we all understand like the idea of niching so hard for a brand. And so we all feel like we have to niche ourselves down into a certain brand. And I'm not certain that that's always what it was for people. Because I think when you talk to older people, they're like, no, I've done a bunch of stuff. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't have a brand. I don't have like a one thing I do.
Yeah.
And we're all kind of forced into it. We kind of all have to be like, all right, I guess I'm picking my brand now. I'm a big fan of like creating a giant umbrella and just being like, this is me, man. Like, this is what I do.
That.
So the funny part was sort of like, that was like a realization for you. That was like a moment where you're like, I hate that running is so serious now, and I need it to be fun again.
Yeah, and the funny part, I mean, that was kind of part of me all along, but I think when I went pro, so when I quit my job and decided I was going to run full time and dedicate everything to this, I, in my head, and I'm sure people can relate to this because I had no idea, when I decided I was going to be professional, that meant this is my job. Everything is riding on this. It must be serious. It must be all full on. It must be very strict, all these pieces. And I tried it, for a good year and a half, and it sucked. Yeah. Like, there were so many elements that were so great. Yes, I was living my dream. I'm getting to run for a living. Right. That's a joke. Like my job is to get up and go run amazing places. But at the same time, I was just putting so much on it. So much pressure. I also felt like I had given myself a timeline. So I remember when I quit, I said in my head, I was like, okay, I have 6 months. And if in 6 months I'm not a professional Olympian and an Oscar-winning comedian, then I'm a failure.
Right.
6 months. It's been almost
That's pretty quick.
3.5 years, 4 years since I have stepped away from my job and I'm now doing this. And I'm like, oh, I have so many more years to go. So, I don't even remember what the question was.
No, that's okay. There wasn't really one. It was just, I think it's a cool pathway. There's a moment in the documentary, which I encourage you to go watch it. People, it's on YouTube for free. Funny Runner. There's a moment in there. Hello. There's a moment in there where that was the cat. For the audio listeners, that's going to sound so weird. The video people will get it. They'll be like, oh, I understand.
Maybe, but he's also down here. So that's just your little moment.
They have to deal with that now because you know what? It was different before I started doing the video component. And now that the video's in there, I just assume people know like what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
What were we talking? Oh no. Okay. So there's a moment in the movie and it's a great moment. It's a picture of you in a race. I think it was was it the Olympic qualifier? It's you see all the faces of all these runners and it's the serious look of running and you are looking straight at the camera and just you are beaming.
Yeah. And
it's such a good like representation of everything I feel like that you have put into what you want this thing to be. I know we're gonna be friends. So the cat is.
I'm sorry.
No. It's totally fine. It's just that my like own inefficiency to like focus on one thing is totally killing me. I liked that moment. I think that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
I really liked
thanks.
that moment.
Thank you.
That feels like you. I feel like that needs to be like in a mural somewhere at some point.
Thanks.
Because that's just the moment.
I would love it. Yeah. So what we're talking about, and you'll see it in the film, is it was probably in the first mile or probably first 2 miles of the Olympic trials last year. And it was, I mean, there were, 400, maybe it was like something like 400 to 600 women that had qualified for trials, which was the biggest year ever. So it was epic for women's running. And we're all in this giant pack running down the first street. And the crowds were lined. This was like 1 week pre-COVID. So COVID,
Where was
this was at the end of February last year.
No, but like where? Where was
Oh, in
that?
Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
So for sure, like COVID was definitely happening at that point. But so we're all running down. And then I saw at that moment where that photo was taken, my brother actually took that photo, which I didn't know he was doing that. But I saw my family. I had that moment of, this is what I'm getting to do.
Right.
Like, yes, this is a big serious race. This is the Olympic trials, but like this comes around maybe once in a lifetime. This comes around once every 4 years if you're lucky. And it was just that moment of like, I get to do what I'm here to do. And I'm just loving every second of it. So the whole race really was like that for me. Of course, there's those moments that were moments where you're like, I don't really quite know why I'm deciding to run 26.2 miles today. But, for the most part, it was just that piece. And that's kind of really what I've tried to carry through since then over the last year, is really continuing to step into that and remembering like, hey, I get to go do this. This is not, I'm not solving cancer problems. I'm not like creating world peace. I'm just running, and I'm just here to like experience my own joy and hopefully exude that to others and give others permission to go be joyful in whatever they are also pursuing, whether it's running. A lot of people hate running. So they would think that, I don't think they would get joy out of it.
Well, I think that it's just sort of generally like a sense of gratefulness about the world in a way that we live in. Because I think that this must have been a huge thing for me growing up, because I always felt like gratefulness was so massive, to recognize like the time we live in, the problems that have been solved, the things we have available, because it's too easy to get stuck in all of the things that still need work.
Yeah.
And it's so much better to be like, holy shit, like I do that all the time. I'm like, I get to fucking travel full time.
Amazing.
That even exists.
Right.
Like I don't know that existed in the way that I get to do it, and the luxury that I get to do it until recently. So
yeah.
The world is insane, and it's just, you have to be happy about it because you get one fucking shot at it.
One. Yeah. That's it. And maximize it.
Yeah.
I think it's so short. It's too short, to live it, or to live it however you think other people want you to live it. Screw it.
Yeah. Do
your crazy thing. Snacks, come here.
It's totally fine. Don't worry about it.
He's just so needy.
He's fun. I like him.
He'll eventually just nap on the ground here.
So the trail running thing has been a part of that too, because that is, to me also, and I think to a lot of people, that's probably a more joyful place to run. I mean, you're just surrounded by trees, you're on the trails. And I saw also in the documentary you did a fastest known time. It's a new term for me, an FKT.
Yeah, me too.
That goes along. It was one of my favorite hikes that we used to do when we lived here, which was that South Boulder, South Boulder Creek trailhead. Like I was like, I know that parking lot like the back of my hand.
Yes.
Like that is the coolest trail, and I'm seeing all these shots. I'm like, oh man,
yeah.
Like that was my hiking spot. I loved it out there. It's so easy to get to from here, and
Piece of cake.
And no one goes there. Like no one goes there. Totally don't get it. It's just the best area. And I think you were Were you scrambling over Bear Mountain?
Bear
in that
Peak,
footage?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. It looked real familiar. But it's like, it's funny to see other people watching you go by, because most people want to get up there and hang out and be like, oh my God, look at this view. And you're like, all right, I'm up and I'm down.
I got to get out of here. I know. Yeah.
So you've set the now fastest known time for that long trail. What did you call it again? I forget.
So it's the Boulder Skyline Traverse is the one you're talking about, and the one that has the scrambling in the film.
Does that go all the way up to like not Flagstaff? I'm sorry. I'm thinking Arizona brain now. The Flatirons and all that stuff too. Okay.
So it starts in that parking lot, and then you go up over 5 peaks. So you have to hit each peak. So
South Boulder,
Bear, Green Mountain.
Royal Arch, Flatirons.
Something else. I don't remember what the fourth one was, and then Mount Sanitas.
Okay.
So you kind of like then loop. You come back into Boulder after you hit that ridge line, and then you loop on Mount Sanitas. So you have to go up and finish this loop on Mount Sanitas. So I set the fastest known time unsupported, which means I didn't have anybody out there aiding or anything like that. It was all
Like doing what?
me. Like some people have people pace them, like, or like navigate the trail, or have their, like, I had all my water and all my nutrition on me.
Yeah.
And it was
Heavy
a
pit
shorter, yeah, I did have a pit stop. I did have to pee.
That's
so I
fair.
had to stop and pee. And then I also got off trail a little bit that day. So I was like, I feel like there's room for improvement still.
That'd be a bummer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but at some point you're gonna have to pee. It's like 12 miles.
It's just about 18.
Is that normal? Is that normal that you have to pee in a marathon? Do people pee in the middle of marathons?
They do. I haven't looked. Oh, let's knock on wood hard.
I feel like most people just pee themselves.
Yeah, most people. So it's so funny. Like, it's amazing what your body can do. I've never, let's knock on wood, had to pee in a marathon. There are porta potties there. Most people, that it's like not that big of a deal to have to like take a couple of minutes to go to the bathroom, will go. But obviously, like, as we're going, every second counts. So luckily I haven't had to do that. Your body, it's so funny, just during training, it gets used to being able to sustain itself and not have to go, like, not have to pee during the middle of it. But it's so strange.
Yeah. I mean, we just have functions that kick in. It's the same thing as when you sleep, if you're doing it right.
I guess that's a good point.
You know, it's like, you shouldn't have to, but people do. Like,
yeah.
Actually, that was the whole thing from which I want to talk about, the book Breath. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
Oh my
book.
gosh,
Okay.
I'm literally reading it right now. I'm
pretty
obsessed with it.
Yeah. But that's one of the things he points out, is that if you're breathing through your nose at night, it kicks in systems in your body that make you not have to pee. So, you know, as soon as I started doing that, I've always been pretty good. I usually, like, my thing is, let's get into pee talk, people.
Yeah.
My thing is, like, if I wake up and I have to pee in the middle of the night, I will make myself go back to sleep. I'm like, nope, we don't pee right now.
Wow.
Like, unless it's like, all right, fuck it, we're not going
You're doing like next level training.
Well, yeah, so I had already been doing that, but then the nose breathing, I feel like, made it even better.
So good.
Because you really shouldn't get up and go do that.
No, you
it's
shouldn't.
really not great for you.
Well, but also, I don't know if my dietitian would agree with that, because she also is like, you must stay hydrated. So I wonder what her opinion would be on that.
What is her definition of hydrated? Like, how much a day?
So it's funny that we're on P Talk. So we don't go necessarily on amount. It's more what colors your pee.
Okay.
And how often is it? So once she gave me a poster of the like different colors of pee. It was like a gradation of like yellows, and like you want to be in like the like more clear yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you aren't going like every hour or something like that, because there's a point where you're overhydrated.
Oh, that's
also
me. Okay.
So, but you like, so just take it easy on the water.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's funny. So that's our scale is, we look at the color of our pee. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fair enough. See, I didn't think anything would be off limits in this talk
There isn't.
today.
No,
I didn't
absolutely
think
not.
so. Yeah.
Especially with runners. I
Right.
mean, there's literally nothing off limits.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
We have to pee at some point. And somebody wants to know the answer to that question.
Everybody asks it.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
There it is.
First time marathoner. Just, you probably won't have to.
Yeah. And you must train yourself to not pee.
Yeah.
Have you done the one nostril breathing yet?
No.
Okay.
What's weird is I haven't gotten into the exercises from that book terribly. I really just got into I like taking in health information, but I have to limit myself.
Yes.
Because once I know it, I can't unknow it. And I'm changed forever once I know it. So some things I actually block myself from knowing. Like I think I've talked about on the podcast before, turmeric, right? Everybody says it helps with inflammation. So I take it. And I'm not interested in any information to the contrary because I fully believe that if you believe in your supplements, they will work.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
So I'm like, all right, I'm done learning about turmeric now.
That's it.
I buy it.
I don't need any other information. Nope. I like that.
Yeah, right.
And then you're done.
Yeah, because the placebo effect is super powerful.
It's real.
But if you take in too much information all the time, it'll become less powerful because there's too much conflicting information. So if it's not going to kill you, then just like accept your own confirmation bias and let it empower you, right?
I have that syndrome. There's another book that I recently just read from Adam Grant called Think Again.
Okay.
Don't read it because, sorry if he's listening to this. Don't read it.
I think it's a compliment what you're saying ultimately.
Because he talks about confirmation bias and then changing your mind, and it's okay. But then that was like a whole whirlwind of like, is what I'm thinking true? Am I believing this? And I just didn't like it. I'm in your boat. I want to just know turmeric solves all my problems. If I breathe through my left nostril, I will be a superhuman.
Yeah.
And my pee is a good color.
Yeah.
Like, let's leave it there.
Do you nose breathe while you run now? I was curious.
No, my coach was really concerned about that yesterday because I told her, so we also have a strength coach that we're working on specific breathing exercises for efficiency with my back. And so I'm working on these, and I'm also reading Breath. And I was talking about nose breathing, and she was like, "You're not going to start nose breathing during running, are you?" And I was like, "No," because I tried for half a mile the other day. It was dreadful. And I was like, no, I think that there needs to be limits. So no, I nose breathe as much as I can normally,
Right.
just not in running.
I get that. And I mean, I don't run the way you run. I run like 8-minute miles and just like pretty
That's
chill
good.
and stuff. Well, it's just like relaxed. And
Yeah.
the most I'll do is like 4-ish miles. But I will say I did the nose breathing and it sucked for several months. But I just kept making myself do it. And I would breathe through my mouth when I needed to. And I felt like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
But then I would try to go back and keep pushing it. And it got better and shit got easier. And I was
Wow.
looking at my pace times and I was like, I felt like this was a slow day and I shaved 15 seconds.
Wow.
So I don't know, man. At some point it started
Okay.
clicking.
Okay.
But I obviously don't know anything about how things work when you are talking sub 6 miles.
Sure.
That's different.
Yeah.
I get that it's different.
Yeah, that's true.
Which, do you have a nostril preference? Because I've noticed
Yes.
things about my own.
Yes.
My right one really wakes up during the day, and my left one, when I'm relaxed, is the one
That's
I'm
what they're
breathing.
saying is like what.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and they are saying that if you right nostril breathe, that's your kind of getting your energy going, things like that, and then your left side is trying to calm you down. So you're probably in a great spot. But
think so.
my right side is amazing, dominating, and then left side is a struggle. But I've actually noticed that that's actually I have a hard time winding down. I have a hard time getting my brain to
I
shut
believe that
off.
about you.
Yeah, as you can see.
But what about when you're doing art or something? When you're really like involved in a task?
I
Does
don't
it start
know.
to open? Left side start to open?
I'm
up?
going to start to try that because I just literally last night I was reading about the left and right nostril breathing. So I'm going to have to give that a go this week and see if I notice anything
Nice.
in particular. I'll keep you posted.
Well, I did an episode with a buddy of mine who knows all about marine life from down in Florida, and we talked about how dolphins rest one side of their brain at a time. Dolphins are way better than humans, by the way.
100%.
Like they're just so much smarter than us.
Yeah.
We are just jokes to dolphins. But they can literally just put one half of their brain to sleep and then they'll rest them
Wow.
separately. And I really feel like it's all connected. I feel like our brains are so similar to theirs, although much smaller. Well, not smaller. I think we have like less surface area. I don't remember how it all works. But the
Interesting.
point is, if it's all connected and if all these right side brain, left side brain things are really true, then it would make sense that your nose sort of coordinates
Gosh, that's so
with your
true.
energy in a way. Yeah.
I love it.
There's so much in that fucking book, right?
Oh, it's so good. And I think I'm only on chapter 4. I think I just got to exhale.
Okay.
So, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay.
It's
I'm so glad you're on the same page because
sure.
I'm obsessed with it. I cannot get enough of it right now.
Yeah. The thing for me that I was working on after that book was the whole concept of like what happened, like the chemicals that rush into your body when you feel like you're out of breath and how you can become more adaptable to those and more like you can handle more load of those things.
Cool.
And so that was a big part of like accepting carbon dioxide as a really good thing, even when running, was pretty fascinating. to me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm just happy that we didn't have to plug our nostrils for 10 days like he did in the book. Could you
Sounds
imagine?
awful.
Yeah.
All the shit that happened to them
Ugh.
sounds terrible.
And then I did Google mouth breathers because when they were talking about the chin, that your chin basically scoots back when you mouth breathe and like all these things happen to your face.
Yeah.
And I looked it up and it was fascinating. So now I'm on the hunt. I'm watching people and I'm like in my head judging them as mouth breathers.
Yeah, that's very nice of you. How kind.
Well,
of
it's in
you.
my head, so I feel like it's kinder if I'm like
That's
not
true.
like
Keep it
mouth
to
breather.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the masks do an interesting thing too, because as much as I try to breathe through my nose when the mask is on, when it's a full long ass day,
Ugh.
it becomes impossible at some
It
point.
is, yeah.
And that's messing with people. That's got to be messing with people to be doing that for a year and change. And
I bet you everybody now has an inverted chin. Like masks are coming off, and I bet you we all are
would
mouth
bet, yeah.
breathers.
well, hopefully, good things like this book come out and get a big surge in popularity and help people. And we believe in the positive side of things.
I love that we just went down this rabbit hole.
That's all I do.
It's so good.
That's the whole podcast.
So good.
Yeah. If we like had a straight line of thinking, it would really be boring to listen
Yeah,
to.
for sure.
You know what I mean? Because if I came in and like we were talking about Tim Ferriss, love Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss, you're my hero. Changed a lot of things in my life, but he's like a straight line interviewer, and I just can't. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't
It's
hang
just
with
not
it.
like natural conversation, I think.
Well, I would like to think that this podcast would ask a question of someone that another podcast didn't. You know what I mean?
100%.
So-
I've never once talked about nose breathing or pee
Peeing.
color. So this is wonderful.
Yeah. I don't think people drink enough water.
No.
Because when I'm hanging out with other people, and I'll get up to use the bathroom. Well, I do way too much, but maybe like every 45 minutes or something.
I think you're overhydrating.
Okay, I
You
probably
need to
am.
incorporate salt and electrolytes.
I put salt in my water.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
already on board with the Himalayan pink salt in the water. Yeah,
look at you.
I know that was an Aubrey Marcus thing from way back in the day.
Okay.
You familiar with that book, Own the Day, Own Your Life?
No.
Oh,
Okay, it's gonna be on my list.
yeah. He's I love him also, but he's gone to places that I'm not super into. Like he's real deep in the spiritual side of things now.
Got
Which is
it.
fine. But his first book, which is called Own the Day, Own Your Life, was like the blueprint I used for health, and it was like it literally breaks down like a full day of like what are the healthiest things you can do moment to moment in your day and why. And it's just that changed everything.
What was his opinion on morning routine?
So, which part of morning routine?
I guess just like moment you wake up.
Moment you wake up.
and-
So the first thing he says is chug water with salt, because the first thing is you're going to be dehydrated overnight, and then I think he usually recommends like a good solid cold shower first thing in the morning.
Nope, not doing it.
Well, I wouldn't either, but that is part of it. He talked about getting light first thing in the morning. It's been a minute since I read that book, but yeah, getting natural light immediately, not getting on your phone, and why not to do that?
Of
and
course.
yeah, but then again, like it's just like anything else. It's like whatever makes someone happy, as long as it's sustainable and
That's
good,
true.
it's fine, you know.
That's true.
Um,
Okay. A
he-
cold shower does not bring me joy.
Yeah, but you must do like ice baths and stuff, right? Like really?
No, luckily I used to. But since I changed my diet, I don't need them anymore. My body just is naturally, like recovers much
Yeah.
better.
Low inflammation.
Mhm.
So what did you do with your diet that helped you?
Just started drinking turmeric.
Oh, really?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, why didn't you mention that like 20 minutes ago? No, by the way, turmeric pills, people. Like I tried to cook with turmeric for so long.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I'm
It's-
sorry. It tastes
we-
great, but my counters turned
We
yellow.
stained. Yeah, we used it last night in a
Everything's
curry,
yellow.
and a spot
I
fell
don't do
and
it
it's
anymore.
yellow.
I'm just
I
like, you know what?
know.
I will take the pills. That's fine.
Yeah, I should have just crushed up turmeric pills in our soup last night.
Yeah.
What was the question?
I don't remember.
Okay.
You have lower inflammation now.
Oh, right. I just started eating more. So I was just really underfueled in the
Okay.
past, and just trying to do all those mileage. It's just makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it's different for distance running, isn't it?
For
'Cause
sure.
You guys can get away with like have as many fucking carbs as you want.
Like the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're allowed to eat sugar sometimes, which
all
is
the time.
amazing.
We have no foods off limits.
Which is great because you have a husband who is a baker,
He's a baker.
and I haven't seen his work yet, but I assume I saw some in the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
They were pretty fantastic looking cookies.
Yeah, jump on his Insta. It's at Sugar Tats Cookies, and he
Sugar tats is in the tattoos.
because he's like got sleeves and
Mhm.
stuff. Yeah.
Very jealous of those. Mhm.
Yes. So jump on there.
about.
He's phenomenal. So he started that business last year about this time, right at the start of COVID, and just on a whim, just decided one day he was going to just bake cookies. And he's very artistic, and just it's kind of boomed from there. And then he was on the Food Network last year. He's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah. So that's my fuel.
Yeah.
Is his
You
cookies.
can eat as many fucking cookies as you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what do you do? What do you do on like a daily basis? Are you running pretty much every day a good distance?
No, you'd be surprised. So we always take one rest day a week. So I only run 6 days a week. And my coach and I are just huge advocates of take a full rest day, not only mentally, but physically. Like your body needs that break. And then, I have, depending on what race distance I'm training for, I'll either have 2 somewhat long days back to back, or I'll have 1 long run a week, and then I have 2 speed days, and then the rest are easy days. So my easy days range anywhere from, depending on where I'm at in my training cycle, anywhere from like 8 to 15 miles. And that's just like easy pace. I get to go look for pennies.
What do you call an easy pace?
Easy pace for me is anywhere from 7 to 8 minute miles.
Okay.
Probably. But remember, like, this is my job.
No, I know that. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not actually comparing myself to you. I'm
Good.
just comparing
Okay.
you to the average public, of which
Yes.
I think I can kind of represent in a way.
100%.
Which
yeah.
is that what you do is absolutely insane.
Yeah, it is a little bit bonkers.
Yeah. I don't think I could keep up with you for a lap.
I think you'd be
On a track.
surprised. You'd be surprised. And here's the thing. I don't go smash out, like, let's say we were going to do 1 mile on the track.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't go smash out the first lap at ultra lightning speed. I also am a big advocate of finishing fast and strong.
Oh, okay.
So you could I bet you could hang for 2 laps.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh-huh.
And then puke and then
Yeah.
recover and
And then drink turmeric.
drink turmeric and
I think you're saying it better than I am. turmeric.
I always have said turmeric.
I say turmeric. I think I'm dropping that R.
There is an R there. I think
right.
that's important for people to know. And when people say turmeric, it makes me think of tumors. And I want to think of termers, which are ancient, East world healing medicine.
This is our grammar talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you have a grammar obsession. Wait a minute, though. Hang on. We'll go there in a sec. Because I want to know about the running. Two things that I was like, how does this work? First of all, you live in Denver.
Yep.
So the snow and ice days just sort of happen. And I know you probably get up really early to go run, right?
No.
Oh, okay. That was what it was in the doc. So I thought maybe.
That was staged.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Movie magic people.
Yeah.
Because I was like, if you go out in the dark after a good icy night, that's like injury city. That's 100%. Like you're 100% going to fall and die and sprain something. And yes, it's sketchy around here sometimes to go running.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, I don't run in the mornings like that occasionally. I do enjoy an occasional morning headlamp run.
Sure.
But I started to move away from that because, again, like I have the whole day. So I run and I coach. So that's my day. And I kind of am like, if I have the luxury to put my runs wherever I want, I'm going to take advantage of nicer days. So I'll plan around where if I know the weather's coming in the afternoon, I'll get my workout done maybe earlier in the morning, or if it is a snowy day, I'll wait until I know it's going to get sunny at 2. I'll just wait until later in the afternoon. I kind of have that luxury. So I take advantage of that. And then I try not to, again, this is my job, but running is supposed to be fun. So I pretty much change up when I run at the time of day every single day. So I never run at the same time every day just because my schedule is different. And some days I just like want to sleep in and I'm like, well, I'd just rather run later.
I feel like in warmer places, a lot of those marathons do start pretty dang early in the morning though.
Yep. So once you get closer to race day, I will start to try to get some earlier runs in. It will get warmer here, so it is trying to beat the heat. But then again, getting used to that. But what was interesting was last year at the Olympic trials, the race didn't start until noon.
Oh wow!
So I had
in Georgia. But it was February.
It was end of February, so I practiced throughout really a lot of my long runs. I would wait until about noon to do it because I knew I was going to have to deal with that extra time in the morning where you're just anticipating. So I would just wait and I'd have to figure out, okay, this is at lunchtime. So I needed to kind of get my stomach used to when I was going to eat.
There's kind of like a natural afternoon crash too. That is hard.
Yeah.
That's difficult. It's like that's what's the Spanish word for a nap? Good
siesta.
I was thinking siete.
Siete
Duolingo
siestas.
is really dropping the ball on me right now. I'm not picking it up as fast as I wanted to. Okay, so when you are doing these trail runs though, like that Boulder Skyline. Yes. Here's my issue on the trails. Even walking, I am quite often behind the slowest person ever, and there's no room to pass, and they don't seem to fucking notice that you're back there. They're just like plodding along, having a good time. How do you deal with that? Do you just zoom by on the side?
I have a really good trick for this. So, one of my favorite things, I love trails. I love nature now. I'm a born and raised Coloradoan. Just started to get onto the trails in the last 2 years because I was not a nature girl at all. Afraid of nature, didn't like the mountains, didn't want anything to do with it because I was just afraid of them. So, and I'm just afraid of all the animals.
Yeah, running, you got to worry about the cats.
Yeah,
right?
Which in fact, I don't think I put up here. I have a piece of art that is a mountain lion dressed as a state trooper, and my theory is if I'm too fast, they won't want to get me. So he's got his like scanner gun, and it says "too fast for food," and so he doesn't want to eat me.
That's a good point.
So anyway,
they're pretty fast, right? So
no, they're not. They're not
really?
as fast as me.
How fast is it?
I don't know, but in my head, let's just leave it at that I'm faster.
So this is the type of thing where you don't want me to Google this because
please don't, because like you're gonna find.
Right.
Anyway,
when I'm like, yeah, they run 40 miles an hour, you'd be like, no.
I'm like, I run about 9.
Yeah.
So my trick is, yes, I love nature, but also I love musicals and I love podcasts, as we talked about. So I have my pack on, and then I put my phone with the speaker up. So I don't ever wear headphones on the trail because I think it's really important to be aware. But I have my phone facing up, and I have either my tunes or my podcast going. And I think that alerts not only other humans on the trail, but also animals that I'm coming. So that's kind of my trick. But there was this one guy. So in the race, I raced not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And normally people hear you coming and they're very great about just popping out of the way, or you'll just kind of do one of like, coming up right behind you.
Yeah.
One of those, but they'll hear you coming. And I try to just be like a little bit of an extra loud mouth breath or
Give it
a
a cough
stomp.
or a quick sniff
or
or
like
whatever.
a farmer blow. And so there was this one guy though, there was two of us. There's me and another guy that were on this single track, and it was maybe, I don't know, mile 15 or something. But then there was this other guy, and we were like, coming up behind you, and he wouldn't move. Single track, we're on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
Wouldn't move. And he had his headphones in a race. And so like I was like, passing.
He was a part of the race?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
He was racing. And I was like, listen, I don't think you should have headphones in ever on a trail. So yeah, tricks of the trade. And then you just kind of, or you'll just find a spot and you'll just quickly dart around. And then they feel silly that they didn't move.
You know what's so funny is when people jump too. They're like, oh God.
Yeah, totally.
I do that all the time out in Tucson. And even if I'm like, because I'll like give someone a shout, and if they're not hearing me, I'm like, all right, I'm going to pass a foot away from you and you're going to freak out.
Yeah.
But that's your own fault. Like,
sorry.
People are not aware of their space.
I think so too.
It's I'm a big self-defense guy. And I think that is a really bad idea to not be aware of what's going on around you.
I agree.
Generally.
Yeah, especially if you're out there by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I take the risk. I do wear headphones when I'm out hiking by myself. But that's because I'm just a total podcast addict, and the type of podcast I listen to, I couldn't have somebody hear something that happens on this podcast because I like weird podcasts.
I had this happen. I was recently listening to Amy Schumer's book on audio because I like to listen to audiobooks on my runs, but like I have them loud because I also think I think people enjoy my tunes, especially like when I've got Hamilton going. I'm sure everyone appreciates that.
Right.
But I was listening to Amy Schumer's, and there were several times that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go quickly past these people because she was like full on in downstairs mode. And you're like, oh, so hopefully people, but I feel like they'd appreciate that. Like that's novel for their day. Don't you think?
Yes. And only because you're running though. I do get annoyed by hikers who have their music on because we're going to be together for a while. And I'm like, dude, I'm here to hear like some birds chirping, like not, you know what I mean?
Not your Amy Schumer talking about her underwear.
But that's the thing. You're going to fly right by.
That's a good point.
And it's over.
However, this past race, again, so this was I just did my first 50K a couple weeks ago. And I asked my coach, I themed my race. I broke out how I was going to race, and I themed it 90s. So I had this whole elaborate plan. I even created this this playlist that strategically went with each chunk of my race. It was wonderful. I had all my 90s tunes. And I was like, Jenny, do you think that I should have that going? Like, I really want my tunes. And she was like, you're not going to be running with anybody. Trail races spread out very quickly. And I was like, okay, you're right. Poor guy. We happen to be stuck together for, I bet you it was 10 miles. And he has to go through the evolution of girl pop. Then it jumps into like, I needed to keep calm in this like third chunk of the race. So then here comes Aerosmith. I don't want to miss a thing. Then it goes into Chumbawamba, and then it goes into the Friends theme song to then into Rugrats. And finally, I think he was completely over it by the time we moved into 90s Brittany. So to Ryan, who I don't know his last name, I apologize that you
Ryan.
had to listen to that for seriously like a good hour and a half, I bet.
Well, he should have sped up or slowed down.
That's what I thought. And I thought, like, I bet you he was like, what's going to come next? I bet it was a fun game for him.
Yeah, maybe you helped him out.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is taking my mind off of
I
this
hope
pain.
so. Yeah. And this is quite the insight into this person.
Right.
So.
Well, who doesn't love 90s music? And
if you don't, I don't want to be friends with you.
Oh, thanks for being on the podcast. And we will, no,
we're going to wrap this up with some 80s jams.
No, I don't. I do like 90s music, but not necessarily. I mean, I can go with some Aerosmith. That'll work.
But like one song, it was, and I didn't want to miss a thing. That's, that's it. I didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
But my problem with those songs, they're too sticky. And so they will be stuck in my head, and I can't do that. So this is a big debate I've had with everybody, which is so many people want to work out with music. I can't work out with music. Like I need an audiobook or a podcast. I need something that really takes me away, because music, I think, makes me feel more emotional, and like that puts me really present, which is going to make the thing harder, I feel like.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't listen to a lot of music. I really can't.
That's okay.
I love music, but I can't listen to it very often. It puts me too much in my feelings.
Okay. I mean, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. That's fine.
It's each their own.
Do you?
But some people are like, oh, audiobook is so boring for like.
No, I disagree.
Yeah, completely disagree.
Have you
Do you
listened?
speed them up?
No.
That's the big thing.
That
Take your book to
stresses me out.
1.5 and just.
No, that stresses me out. I don't like that. That like makes my heart and my head
Really?
do that. Yeah.
But what about when you get a real slow reader? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't feel like I've experienced too many of those.
Fiction books, I feel like, always have.
Oh,
real
that's
slow
why,
readers,
because I don't
they take breaks in the dialogues.
I don't do fiction books. I do like thinking books. One of my favorites was Think Like a Monk on like a run or like over a couple of runs. That was really good.
Yeah.
Because it makes me think, and then I'm out on the trails and just contemplating life,
Right.
One day I'll give it a go on
Okay.
1.5. I'll report back. I have a lot of things to report back to you.
1.5 isn't so good for real sciencey books where they're going to be like this study.
Oh, I
It's
can't
too
do-
much.
yeah, I won't
That's
do
too
that.
much. But it is great for a good like fiction book. And then you're like, oh my God, I just finished that entire series in like a day. How
Okay.
did that happen?
Do you think people are listening to this at 2-point speed?
Not me. No, I know that I talk way too fast.
I feel like I talk really fast too.
They probably turned us down to 0.75 and they're like, this is now how humans talk. Yeah.
This is more normal.
Yeah. I have training in this. I'm supposed to know how to talk slower when I'm publicly speaking, and it just doesn't really matter. The thoughts, the thoughts go so much faster than the words that the words really got to try to work to keep up. So yeah, I don't know.
I think you're doing great.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Although maybe we both just sound like we're so fucking high on caffeine right now.
I hope so, because this is coffee number 2 for me.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Energy, people. Energy. This is the morning podcast. Don't listen to me while you're going to sleep. Screw
No,
that.
yeah.
Let's get up and get going.
Yeah, let's go for a run. I hope people are listening to this on a run.
I'm sure some will be. My dad probably will be. Is he running again? I'm not sure if he's running again. But he probably will be. So that's where we go next, actually, because my dad is an avid runner and has run several marathons. So
What's
from
his name?
His name, Dean.
Hi, Dean.
Hi, Dean. Dean, you just got said hello to by like an Olympic fucking
Shout out,
runner.
Dean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty dope. This chick's won marathons, Dean. So I was running since I was a little kid. That was a part of what we did. Even before I could really run myself, I would bike along with my dad while he would run, and then eventually I was able to run with him. So you're like where we're going next. When I was 13, which is a year too young to do this, but the form said I was 14. I don't know who put that on the form.
Sure.
I went and ran the Disney half marathon, the winter one, the one in January, and I think that year my dad did the Goofy challenge, which is
Wow.
we did the 5K, and then he and I did the half marathon. Next day he did the marathon. So wait, that's not the Goofy challenge.
The
The Goofy
Dopey
challenge
one-
is to do 2. The Dopey is to do all
all
3.
of them,
So he
yeah.
did the Dopey.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know how he did that.
I don't know either.
Yeah. But that's kind of a fun race, but it's one of those ones that starts at like 3 a.m. or something. Like it's
5. But you have to get there very early.
you have to get there so early.
Mhm. Yeah.
And you're like bundled up, and you bring clothes that you're just going to get rid of as you go. Like it's like, this is being donated now.
Yeah.
I remember that specifically about it. And you're wearing trash bags and all
Yep.
that stuff.
Yep.
But you have won some Disney marathons,
have.
I believe, right?
Yeah.
Which ones were those?
So I won the Disney half marathon. See the Donald Duck trophy right
I
there?
see the Donald Duck trophy. I'm not sure it's on the screen, but it is beautiful.
Thanks.
In
It's
2018,
really heavy.
January 6th.
So I won the Disney half marathon. I won the Disney Princess 10K, and then I won the Star Wars half marathon as well. This was all within 3 months. So 3 months I was at Disney World 3 times, and it was epic. And they were amazing. The
Yeah.
Run Disney races are incredible.
Yeah, it's fun to run through the parks, and they're all closed down, and you're just you there.
There's
really
a sick video of me running through the Magic Kingdom leading the race. So the lead cyclist. So when you're at the start, when you're winning a race, obviously on a road race, trail races aren't this way, but when you're winning a race, you have a lead cyclist. And so they have one for men and women, and they're helping you navigate the course so you
Right.
don't have to think. So my lead cyclist, we were like coming into the Magic Kingdom, and he had his phone out and was videoing me as I was approaching the castle. And because it was January, all the Christmas lights are still on. So it was still like dark out because it was so early. So that was one time I did run early in the morning. And the whole, like, I'm running towards this unbelievable lit up castle.
Right.
And that was just such a special moment in my career. That's something I won't ever forget, because I'm like, oh, I love it. But I'm also just like obsessed with Disney.
Yeah, I saw there were quite a few different Disney medals and things that make me think you're into Disney.
Yes.
I used to be very into Disney.
Okay.
I'm taking a little break from Disney.
That's okay.
But I respect the game. I
Okay.
respect it.
It's very on brand for me. So.
Yes, it for sure is. So do you go outside of racing, or is it only you go there when you're going to race?
Well, I was going to go this year. I changed my mind because I thought that's not a good idea. However,
I don't know if it would be quite as fun.
I don't think so.
I don't know what they
either.
could. I mean, I'm sure they've done lots of great things to make it all feel great. But you're just like, you're wearing a mask all day in fucking Florida.
For sure.
And you're like sitting so far away. There's not that same spirit of like the magic of Disney, right?
I know. Yeah. And I like wonder if they're making all the princesses wear masks because that's really upsetting. So anyway, yes, I'm obsessed with Disney. And I recently just started, I manifested my vocal coach. So Mary Beth, I hope you're listening to this because I manifested you. So I am obsessed with singing. I'm obsessed with Disney and I love Broadway. And so I decided that one day my dream is to partner with Run Disney and they will one day discover that I also have this singing ability. So my vocal coach specializes in Disney and Broadway. So I've been recently working with her on my Disney princess singing skills.
Yeah. You could be a Disney princess. I believe you meet the height requirement for
I
sure.
do.
You're
In
supposed to be
fact,
real short,
you
right?
have to be 5'4" shorter. So fun story. When I graduated college, I was in that like life crisis moment where you're like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
And I thought about, I graduated with degrees in Spanish, International Studies, and History. So perfectly useless. And I decided one day I was kind of thinking like dreaming big, what would I want to do with my life? And I decided I want to be a Disney princess. Sure enough, they were having auditions in New York to be Disney princesses on cruise ships. So I went to New York and I auditioned because you do have to be 5'4" or shorter.
Right.
Made it to the final round, but didn't end up getting the gig, which was fine because all other things fell into place. But
Which Disney princess, does it matter?
you don't get to pick. And in fact, you audition to be a character versus any particular princess. So the way the audition process works is you are all auditioning to be Chip and Dale or Mickey and Minnie, so in the actual character costumes, but then sometimes they'll like choose you for a princess if they think you meet their requirements. Like there was a guy.
It is different because you have to talk though. When you take the head off, you have to talk.
Right. Yeah. So I think they vet you based on how you can move your body or something. But there was a guy I distinctly remember that they offered him Jack Sparrow on the spot.
That is cool.
And he looked like it. There was another girl that looked uncannily like Snow White, so it was kind of like, yeah, no wonder. But I think I would choose Tinkerbell. Would be super fun.
That was the one I was thinking of.
Even though she's not a princess, but she's a badass.
She gets to do the fucking what would that be called? Down. She gets to slide down. Why is that word? Oh my god!
Turmeric.
Why am I not here? Turmeric. You're letting me down today. Yeah, what is it called when you just sort of go down a cable? You know what's the funniest thing is when you forget words on a podcast, the podcast listeners just go fucking crazy because they know it.
They hate every moment of
They hate
this.
it.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
When you all right, let's say you were gonna go to Costa Rica.
Okay,
and they're like,
I've been-
there's these
ziplining.
zip lines. That's the word. Thank you. So she gets to zip line right down from the castle, which is
Oh,
gotta
she
be insane.
does?
Yes, it's part of the fireworks
God.
show.
Okay.
I think that's a pretty common. She gets to go straight from the castle down to like Main Street, and it's like a real.
Oh my God! Game
moment of the
over.
show. Would you do that?
Million
No
percent.
height problems. at
Nuh-uh.
all.
I've
That's
I've
good.
ziplined in Costa Rica, in fact.
Well, there you go. I thought of the right country. Even.
Yeah.
I just couldn't
nailed
think
it.
of the word.
Okay.
So Tinkerbell or
I don't know. I mean, I'd want to be a blonde princess. I think if I had my dream, it would be Elsa in Frozen 2.
okay.
There's a moment where she takes her shoes off and she pulls her hair down and she goes and runs with this water horse. And I feel like that's my moment.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
So-
because she's running too. That really helps the image.
And she just takes off all of the extra stuff, right?
Gotcha.
And she just lets herself be free and her hair is going. Although I would never run with my hair down because that's a tangled nightmare. But
Just let it go.
it is. Yeah. And she's going into the song Show Yourself. And it's just that moment. But honestly, okay, not to get too deep, but I really do feel like that is my trail moment of just kind of letting myself go and be like whatever runner I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I really connect with that.
Is the running in your genetics somewhere? Like, have you done one of the ancestry tests or anything like that?
We have. Do they have running?
No, I'm just curious.
Oh.
Like, so, like, what is your heritage then?
We are just as like white milk as you can get. So we're like Irish, English, German.
Okay.
And that's pretty much
That's
it.
pretty much me too. I was just wondering if there's some sort of like Viking in there, some type of Scandinavian,
Oh.
where you're just like,
You know what?
but like maybe you feel better when you run with an axe in your hand and you're like, now I feel my power.
Okay. In the next room, I won a pickaxe. When I won the Leadville half marathon, you win a pickaxe.
That's cool.
And then also to continue on top of this topic, my dad is convinced that he is straight off the boat from Ireland. Like he thinks he's 100% American and 100% Irish.
Cool.
So when these DNA tests came out, my aunt, his sister, got one of these done, and she was like, "It says we're Scandinavian," and he was so angry, and he was like, "That's not right. Scandinavian, we're from Ireland," and I'm like, "Dad, like." That's DNA.
I feel like it's a white people thing because we don't really know. We're all kind of mutts, and we just like, you want to pick the one you identify with. That's sort of the coolest.
Yeah.
So I know that I've got some Scottish in there somewhere, and so I'm like, I'm full blown Scottish.
I could see that.
There you go.
That's off the boat. Yeah.
Yeah. But you have to pick. Like that's part of the fun part, isn't it? It's like you get to pick because there's no like culture for just like mutt white people. You're just like,
that's called American.
Yeah, it's just I'm American, which is fine too, and I get behind that, and
sure.
Go USA, all that stuff. But then you want like some mystery and some culture back there, so you just pick the one you like.
You know your roots. I'm gonna lean into that more heavily when I retire from running because I've decided that, like we've talked about with the identity piece,
right?
When I'm ready to move on from running, I've already decided that my next identity will be an Irish step dancer because I have big dreams with that because I like that they don't have to move a lot. It's all about their legs.
Right.
So I'm really going to lean into my Irish heritage when I become an Irish step dancer.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. Have you practiced that or any dancing?
Yes, not sober.
Oh, I see.
I like to go to the Renaissance Festival, have a couple, and then create a crowd around me with my Irish step dancing that I think is probably. I mean, it's got to be spot on.
Yeah. You don't mind other people, do you?
I love other people. I love being in the spotlight.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my performance background as well.
I've got a weird mix where I think I'm an extrovert. Like I will have more energy from doing this podcast today. I'll be like all amped up, good to go. But when there's more than 4 people in a room, I'm done. I'm silent.
Okay.
Because I like having deep conversations and I can't do surface stuff, and I never feel like interjecting myself in a bigger crowd. I just maybe I used to, but not anymore.
I think it's been a learned skill for me. And Justin, my husband, is extrovert to the max. The more people, the better. He loves it. But I think I'm in your boat too. I do have my extroverted moments. I can certainly handle myself in a large group of people. I like some of that small-ish talk that can then eventually, I just like to learn like something fun and unique about people. But then there are my moments. I think this is why running is so helpful is I have to have my me moments where I just can disconnect because I do get social overload sometimes that I need to decompress and I need to remove myself from big social gatherings.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like right, left nostril breathing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we should all be a duality. This is the theme of the episode, I think, is like, you don't have one identity.
You're right.
Like you are different in every circumstance and just roll with it.
And it's cool.
Be that. It's cool.
Yeah.
And you can be into something tomorrow that you weren't into today because things change.
Yeah.
And like when I go listen to old episodes of this podcast, I'm like, oh my, it's cringy. It's hard because you have to accept that you are changing as you go.
Well, and that's probably the exciting part too is, wow, I look at how much I'm growing. Look how much better these are getting or whatever, which I would like to say that you're doing a phenomenal job.
Thank you very much.
I'm really enjoying myself.
I appreciate that.
And this has been probably one of the most naturally fun episodes I've ever done.
Well, we're not done yet. I can make it really bad before we're done.
Oh, we have so much time.
Really boring.
And then we'll like slow it down even more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then people will have to put us on 1.2 times speed.
Yeah, that's our goal.
This is so dumb.
What are they talking about?
I like podcasts. I think that they get interesting around they get real interesting around the hour mark because you've cleared a lot of the things and all of a sudden you're in totally unexplored territory and nobody knows where they're going. Okay, you have other obsessions that I also share. Abraham Lincoln would be one of them.
Oh.
Is this part of the penny thing? Is that why pennies are more special because they've got his face on it?
I think so. I think he was just like straight up dude. And I'm sure he had some like things not great about him, but I feel like there was a lot worse presidents.
Yeah.
I just really enjoy him as a president. And then it also is wonderful that he's on the penny. I don't know. I don't know what my obsession with not only Abe, but all presidential history. Like I have a weird, like I know, I can tell you every single president in order and I can tell you fun facts about each of them.
Okay.
So just it's like very random things, but I don't really know where this started to develop, but it's been years.
Do you have like Donald Trump fun facts too? Or did you give up on the current president?
Kind of. So have you
Are there
ever?
Joe Biden fun facts? Is he a fun guy?
I haven't explored too much about Joe yet. And Trump, he exists. And
Sure.
fun fact is he is no longer our president. But the others, I mean, there's some just random things about people.
Okay, we'll come back. We'll circle back. Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried.
Have you been to the National Mall? Have you been to the Lincoln Memorial?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I also ran and won the Marine Corps Marathon.
Well, look at that.
So of course.
Is that must be out there, I'm assuming.
That's that one. Yeah. And that was in the film.
Yes, I
That
did
was
see
the rainy day.
The rainy day. Ugh.
It was,
Horrible.
yeah, it was rough. So yes, I have. And DC is one of my favorite places specifically for that reason.
Yeah, I had the chance to go hang out with the stage manager. It was when I was doing my theater degree. I
What?
got to hang out with the stage manager. They were doing, I think it was Christmas Carol in Ford's Theater, and I got to, watch him call the show from the booth, which was really cool. And, you're sitting right next to the fucking balcony. Like, you're right
Stop.
there. It's really cool.
Okay,
It's
how are
awesome.
we?
They do full-blown shows there.
How are we about an hour in and you didn't happen to just drop your theater?
It's not what I usually drop when I walk in the door.
I would encourage you to do it more.
Has so little to do with what
Especially,
I do now.
hello, you just walked into like a theater person's house.
We could probably sing an amazing duet. Like we probably
I
really
bet
could
we
rock
could.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because my voice is even lower than this, really, when I sing. Which is
Wow.
cool. But there's no songs written for me. Anyway, sorry, folks. It makes me mad about the world. The world is all pop
Okay.
and all tenors, and
Here's my gift to you. One, Disney and I become partners because
Yeah.
it's going to happen because I'm going to manifest it. I will talk to them and we'll get a song created for your range.
That would be great.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be phenomenal.
But
Can you pick who's got the best bass song? I mean,
Nobody.
Gaston is a little low, but it's still,
He's kind of a douche though.
it's high though. Like
Yeah.
it's still high in the register.
What about Dwayne The Rock Johnson in Moana?
I haven't seen it.
I
I told you I'm on
sorry.
kind of a Disney
I
hiatus.
need you to watch it.
Okay.
Honestly, that one is so fantastic.
Okay.
And you'll have a moment where you're like having your Disney princess moment.
How would it be for you if he was also the president?
Dwayne The Rock Johnson,
He's talking about it.
dude.
I'm seeing the posts on Instagram. I know I see him right there on your wall, carrying Oprah on his back. Those aren't his abs.
It is.
Oh, it is.
It's
That's-
his
there's a
body
sleeve
from
tab.
Baywatch.
Okay.
That was a challenging one. Obviously, things are a little janky in that one. That was really challenging, but I was desperately wanting Oprah to be getting a piggyback from him.
Sure. So, but he's talking about it. I mean, because people talk about him doing that all the time. The big thing is Rocco. It would be Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Jocko Willink. That's the.
I love
I mean, how
that.
amazing, right? That
How
would
American also.
It'd be crazy.
Yeah.
It would probably be awesome. Because we don't hire cool people for that job.
No.
But we really should.
We really should.
Yeah. It's never. I don't know. Anyway, I don't do politics on the show, but I definitely think like a cool person should be the president. Like,
I agree.
It should be someone really cool.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson would be a great
If it
one.
really is just a big old popularity contest, at least let's elect the cool fucking guy, right?
Right. And I mean, throw Oprah on his back, for goodness
Throw
sake.
Oprah on the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where the fuck were we going?
I don't know. I don't even remember. Like, have we even talked about running? We were talking
It was
about
theater. It was Lincoln, and it was Ford's, and it was then music.
Right.
And music theater. Okay, so that was really cool to sit in that theater, and I was watching. I still love National Treasure.
Honestly, it's so
that's
good.
so good. The second one is good
It's
too.
very realistic, don't you think?
Oh
Like, that could
yeah.
happen.
Oh yeah.
You could steal the Declaration of
no-
Independence.
like- Okay, it's also realistic because someone's working on the roof of the bell tower right
Mm-hmm.
in Philadelphia, and there's no way after they've restored all those bricks that anyone ever saw the mark that's on that brick.
I know.
You'd walk right past it.
I wouldn't see it.
You'd never see it.
honestly,
No one would ever be like,
unless
"What's in
you were
there?"
looking for it.
Yeah. The President's Secret Book totally exists.
It does.
Right.
I'm convinced.
It's cool. They shot the scene so when you watch the scene, they're right behind Rushmore in theory on the second movie,
of course.
and the camera goes over Rushmore, but there's no lake back there. And we've actually been to South Dakota and explored that whole area. It's a separate lake that we have been to. Andrew and I went there part of our honeymoon, and it's incredible. It's this amazing lake, and we're like finding all these pictures of this, but it's like 20, 30 minutes away from that.
Another
Place in Custer State Park, I think. So,
epic.
yeah. Okay. You're too positive, so I just go down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, she's liking this,
Oh,
and
I'm
I
loving
just
it.
don't stop.
Before you move on
Yeah.
from that, number one, can we talk about how amazing that you had gone to Mount Rushmore on your honeymoon? Like, that's a dream.
So when we got married, 4 days later we took off in the RV. So
Cool.
while we were doing the wedding, we were getting rid of all our stuff and moving into the RV and painting it and all that stuff. And then we had to go to South Dakota first to establish residency there.
Of course, because I've heard you can do that.
Yes.
Yep.
So that's where I live now. And that's where we made our first stop. And we were like, let's stay at Custer State Park. And it was the first place we stayed. And it was great.
So,
And we rode the motorcycle. It was right on the tail end of Sturgis. So there were hundreds of motorcycles. And when we went to Rushmore, there's special motorcycle parking for us because of the thousands of motorcyclists that come through. It was awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
Justin and I, so Mount Rushmore is only about 6 hours from here.
Yeah.
So one day we decided that we were going to go there because it's Mount Rushmore, of course. So I said, do you want to go to Mount Rushmore? Of course he says yes. And I say, I want us to dress up as presidents when we go. And he said yes, which is why I married him.
That's why you married him.
So we showed up to Mount Rushmore dressed as Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson in full costume. And people thought that we worked there, but it was right before the 4th of July. So the workers were I remember the janitors were like, what are you guys doing here? Like, you're not supposed to be here till Sunday. And we're like, we don't work here. We're just having a great time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So people took pictures with you and stuff. I'm guaranteed.
They were on people's Christmas cards,
Amazing.
everything.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Which, although Rushmore isn't nearly as exciting as Crazy Horse to me.
I highly
so
disagree.
Big. Really?
I was so sorely disappointed with Crazy Horse. In fact, I have a big grudge against it.
Okay. I would like to hear that.
Okay.
But I would also like to throw the opposite opinion, which is the reason for this is because the history of Mount Rushmore is like horse shit.
Yeah.
It's like a total scammy, scummy guy.
Yeah.
And Crazy Horse is like actually way more about that area and what goes on there instead of like putting American presidents.
Yeah, I didn't go down that far. I was just upset that it took them that long and it's still not even close to being finished. And I was like, you can't even get close to it.
Right. Although, depending on how much you like paying taxes, I think that our tax dollars paid for Rushmore, where I don't think they're paying for Crazy Horse.
They don't, yeah.
Which is kind of nice.
Okay, retract my aggression.
Well, just give it another shot.
Okay.
When did you last see it?
This would have been probably 4 years ago.
Okay, so I saw it. The nice thing about Crazy Horse is that the growth is sort of exponential because as they keep going, they get more and more money and it becomes a bigger and bigger project.
Oh, okay.
So it's going faster and faster as time goes on.
All right. I'll look it up today and I'll see. I'll check back another piece, a follow-up. I'll let you know.
Think about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will.
Just give it a shot.
It. Think again.
Give it a shot. But that doesn't change that Rushmore's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is where it's supposed to go.
Yeah, we're destined to talk about Rushmore. Well, okay, here's where it was. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. That's all I really want. So watching National Treasure, right? That's where we started.
Oh, right.
And there's the scene where Booth, kills Lincoln, which has been done in a million movies. But I'm watching that moment. And I was really sad this time because I was like thinking about like that dude had a lot of wisdom left in that head. Like there was a lot of good things that were going to come from Lincoln. I mean, I have a great book of just like Lincoln quotes at home, and
I bet I have it.
Is it the tiny one?
Yeah. It's tucked this way. That whole shelf is dedicated to Lincoln.
Yeah. So, and you're like, he's a fucking philosopher. Like he had so many great things to say about the world, and he died, and somebody decided to kill him, which was not their right to do, and it's just really shitty that we didn't ever get to see where that guy went. But at the same time, would he be as big if he hadn't been shot?
I know.
You have to ask that question too.
You do have to ask that question. Like, I know.
We've forgotten about so many presidents. Would we? I think we'd remember him because the Civil War was a big deal.
Right.
But would we? Or would he have lived old enough to do more shitty? I'm sure he did shitty things. I don't know about all of them.
For sure.
Guaranteed there was some
shit. I bet he wasn't like a gem to marry Todd.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Especially back then.
And she was kind of a nightmare too.
Yeah, she was a hot mess. She was really short. But I'm short.
Is there a relation there?
No.
Okay.
I just feel like, I don't know.
I
feel like she's probably a little bit grumpy.
Well, she went like full crazy, right? She went like full psychotic.
Well, I guess her kids died too.
But what's even more interesting is that like even if you go full psychotic at the time, like women's healthcare wasn't exactly like understanding at the time. Yeah. So it's like maybe she just needed some fucking therapy and somebody to what pills were they putting her on? And
right.
You're right.
Maybe she was taking those Queen's Gambit pills. Have you seen that show?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe she was just
obsessed with the show.
Yeah.
The book was better.
Oh, was it?
I did a real deep dive about the book on a friend's podcast, Podflix and Chill, everybody. Because you know what they miss in the movie is when Beth gets really depressed and like draws away from the world. first of all, her friend doesn't just come save her, Jolene, right?
Uh-huh.
She calls Jolene. I think that's a really important
Oh.
difference because your friends aren't always just going to come save you.
No.
Sometimes you have to call them. And then the other thing is Jolene makes her go fucking work out.
Good.
That is a big part of
They
how she
didn't
gets
show
over her
that.
depression. They play racquetball in the show like for half a second.
That's not going to break a sweat.
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right.
So that's a big, I really was like, this is kind of the modern conversation of like forgetting that exercise and depression are really closely
They go hand
linked.
in hand. I will
Kinda
bet
skipped
you
it for the show.
$40 that she was a mouth breather.
Probably.
Yeah.
We
I
all
bet
were.
Mary Todd was a huge mouth
Were
breather.
you not a mouth breather before you read this book? I thought we were all mouth breathers before we.
No, I don't
read
think
this
I was
book.
because I remember I'm reading it and I'm like, I don't mouth breathe.
Hmm.
No offense if you do.
Well,
To all the mouth breathers out there, I think you're wonderful people.
I think I relate to the mouth breathers as I was one because most of us in this modern world spend so much time with our noses just clogged by the bullshit in the air all
that's
the
a good point.
time.
Not here, not as much here in Colorado.
Is the air cleaner? Not in Denver.
No, it's not.
a valley.
Denver's a disaster.
But you get up in the mountains, it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Although it's thinner, so you have to pick your battles.
Yeah. Wow. People, this is a fun
Do
episode.
you think people are still with us?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because we're covering all sorts of ground.
Or
and
do you
that's what
think that they're like,
keeps it interesting.
these people hate mouth breathers, screw them?
No, I just want to make sure my camera's still on, really, because I don't want to. Sometimes it'll just drop out on me. No, we're good.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln, everybody,
Man.
ladies and gentlemen. But that's not the only president you seem to be obsessed with, because I see Teddy Roosevelt all over here.
TR's my number 2 favorite president.
What's the best Teddy Roosevelt book?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I've not read them.
Okay, because he's got his autobiography, and there's a bunch of different biographies, and I've heard different things about
I
all of
haven't read them. I haven't gone too far into reading some of them for the sake of I don't want to run the risk of them being really dry and then me feeling like I dislike them a little bit.
That's such a good point.
Mhm. There's a really great podcast. It's called, I think it's called just Presidents. And she goes through every single president in order on an episode. And it's actually, I was listening to that during one of my themes was presidents, during one of my training weeks. And so I was listening to all these episodes on my runs and just learning about the presidents. It was actually really fascinating.
Tell me something about a president that I don't know. Tell me something about like someone we never think of, like Millard Fillmore.
Millard Fillmore, he was the first president to have a library in the White House.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
That's a good one.
What else? Let me think of somebody else. William Henry Harrison. He had the shortest presidency, but the longest inaugural speech. I think it was something like, it was like hours long.
Isn't that why he died? Didn't he get pneumonia from that? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
I think you might be on the right track. I think there was something with
He
it
like
where,
stood out in D.C. in January for hours
Yeah.
and then like died the next day.
like it was like very, very short presidency.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
You really got into the presidents.
Well, there's also a thing called a memory palace. I don't know if you've heard about memory palaces.
No, I have not.
So there are these things called, so I read this book called something with Walking with Einstein. And basically the world memory champs. So there's a competition called the World Memory Championships. And so it's these people that will memorize from everything from faces to
Decks of cards.
all these things, numbers, this whole thing.
Right.
So basically what they do is they create a memory palace. So basically you take your house or a location that's very, very familiar to you and you walk through it in your mind and you place these things that you're trying to remember throughout your house, but they're doing very absurd things. So that way it's memorable. So for example, it's my old apartment before we moved here. So you walk in and right away, George Washington is sitting on top of the washing machine, putting quarters into the washing machine. All of the presidents that are named John are sitting on toilets in my memory palace because John, right?
Sure.
All of the presidents that are named James are all eating peaches. James and Giant Peach. Abe, for example, is in the bathtub, a bathtub full of pennies. And there's peaches that are sliding down the wall because James Buchanan just shot peaches at the wall through a cannon. Mm-hmm. Andrew Johnson, I feel like you're not convinced yet, so let me keep going.
I'm loving this.
Andrew Johnson, who then follows Lincoln, he is drawing a bunch of dicks on a painting in our house because Andrew drew Johnsons.
Okay. Sure.
So yes, so that's how I remember all of the presidents.
Wow.
Yep.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm talking about. No one would ask you that.
Nobody.
like.
And I love that.
It's great.
Thanks
great.
for making that happen, because that's like a skill that I am really proud of.
Yeah. That's kind of a Tim Ferriss-y thing too, right? That's one of his kind of experiments, is the whole memory thing. He's really into that stuff.
Is he?
Yeah, I think he talks about it in 4-Hour Workweek somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I just think it's a fun, useless skill.
Do you use any like nootropics or anything like that
What
as
does
you
that
do all
mean?
your studies? So apparently not. Like mind enhancers, brain enhancers.
Like what?
Well, the big one is Alpha Brain from the company called On It.
I've never heard of any of this.
Oh my goodness. Well, give it a shot.
Okay.
Yeah, I've
Will
taken
I-
them before.
Oh, this is like a takeable thing.
It's a supplement, and it's they've done clinical studies that show that it helps you with things like word recall and memorization.
Oh,
So it's been fully clinically studied, which is pretty cool.
interesting.
But I haven't noticed that effect so much as it gives me the craziest dreams because it makes you lucid dream a bit more.
Ooh.
But then I also find myself, this is sort of more like sleep paralysis kind of stuff, which is pretty scary because I'll keep waking up into other dreams and I
Oh,
can't
God.
wake myself up. So that happens a lot on it too.
You know what I like
That's
to do
pretty
to
cool.
have specifically crazy dreams? I eat cheese before bed.
Really?
String cheese is my go-to snack because I like to have crazy dreams.
What is that?
I don't know.
How's that connected?
It could be placebo, but it happens. I
Cool.
feel like I really have heard that it causes weird dreams.
I don't think we talk enough about dreams. That's because people aren't sleeping enough. Like, you have to sleep a certain amount to actually get dreams. You need those 8 hours, and you need the early hours of the morning too.
Yeah.
If you're waking up too early for work, you will not have dreams.
And that's the best part.
Yeah. Do you do dream journals? Do you like write them down and everything?
No, I don't. I just like, because then I just like to think about them throughout the day. Sometimes it evolves into art, but no, I don't.
Do you go into lucid dreaming? Do you get like really into that at all?
Sometimes, but that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. I think my favorite dreams are like, do you ever have these dreams where you completely fall in love with someone in a dream and you like wake up and you're like totally heartbroken? It's just like it stays with you for a few hours that day. Does that ever happen to you?
I have that, only I regret it because I'm like, that's not Justin. And I feel that really terrible, guilty feeling. Like, why did I do that?
That's so funny.
You know what I have crazy dreams about all the time, and I don't know why this happens, is I have dreams that I am blackout drunk and I don't remember what happened. And it's like that horrible feeling that you're like, what happened last night? And you're like, why did I do that? I have those all the time.
I've never been that drunk to do that, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, right.
I'm a
I mean,
very
I
good
haven't
child.
either. Like even through college.
Yeah, very responsible drinker.
Right. Yeah. Even post college.
You only have to do that once or twice, and you're like, I am never doing that.
You
ever
say
again.
that, and then next Margarita Friday
It's
comes
the funny thing
around.
about drinking, isn't it? I'm convinced everybody has their own drug that just sort of works with their chemistry. I haven't found Andrea's yet. She of whether we're talking caffeine or alcohol or nicotine or whatever, I haven't found hers. I know mine, and alcohol is one of them, and it's just like, this vibes with me.
Yeah.
Like but it's kind of scary at the same time, because I think when you find your drug, the truth is that when you have the correct amount of it, you generally feel more like yourself than when you don't have that drug.
Yeah. I can relate to that.
And that's really tough, and that's really sketchy.
Yeah.
That's where drugs start to, I think, win the battle.
I think so too.
But it seems like caffeine may be one of yours.
One of mine. Big fan lately. My other drug is IPAs, which I didn't think I would like those.
So alcohol.
Yeah, I would say that.
Does
The
it
other
work
one-
in other forms though? Because like a beer makes me feel way different than a glass of whiskey.
No, I think it's probably
A good
a good amount across the
good
board.
brew.
The other one that I was like a little bit nervous about was, so I had mouth surgery last week.
Oh,
And they gave me hydrocodone.
okay.
And I've never taken anything like that before, but I've never really had like surgery or anything, and it was awesome.
Really?
But then I was convinced that I was going to become a drug addict that day, and so I only took like 2 for that one day, and it was great. But then I was like, this is not
Yeah.
like, it was great, but I think it was not it doesn't vibe as well as caffeine for me.
Yeah. Well, it's strange. Like, there's a lot of people hooked on their pain pills these days.
I can see
it's
why.
messy.
Yeah.
And it's really like chemically really similar to things like heroin, and like morphine and heroin are basically the same.
My
fucking thing.
brain went, if you take one more of these, you're going to be shooting it up
Interesting.
in between your toes.
Well, here's the difference though, is that you have the capacity to recognize that.
yeah.
Like, I listened to this episode of Joe Rogan back when I was listening to him more frequently. And it was, I think this guy's name was Dr. Carl Hunt, and he does all types of drugs, and he's a doctor of drugs. He's very familiar with them, but he's done heroin and cocaine and all these things. And he's like, yep, they're mostly fine. The problem is people's own issues with drugs. And so I feel like it's very hard if you have the right mentality to really become a drug addict or really become an alcoholic.
That's true.
They say alcoholism is way more about genetics anyway.
I think I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
But we all have to watch ourselves.
We
and
do.
You got to do Sober
You gotta have
October
it in
and you
check.
got to make sure you're good. And
Or Dry July.
Dry July?
One time I did that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was living in New Zealand and I did Dry July. Because it's winter down there. So it's not a big deal. Like we
Right.
couldn't do it here because it's the 4th of July.
I was like, what do you do on the 4th?
Yeah. You go away. Like that'd
Yeah.
be terrible.
How long were you in New Zealand for?
2 years.
Wow, that's quite a long time.
Yeah.
Do they mostly speak English in New Zealand? Help me out.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep. They're a British colony.
Okay.
Formerly, they would kill me for that right now.
Right.
Yeah, I was doing it was my first big kid job out of college. I worked for a company. We sold high-end baby strollers
Oh,
and
lovely.
baby
Okay.
gear. And I worked for them for 2 years here in the U.S. So their American headquarters were, or their North American headquarters were in Fort Collins, and then their global headquarters were in Wellington, New Zealand. So I worked for 2 years here and then transferred there and ran sales for Australia. So I was based in New Zealand doing sales for Australia, schlepping all these like super heavy high-end baby products. And at the time, I exclusively only wore high heels. There was no exception. So I'm going like 12-hour days through airports, all these things with all
Sure.
these strollers and high heels, as you do.
Right.
I stress fractured my pelvis during this time, which I was like, I don't understand.
What happened?
Yeah. That'll do it to you. So
Yeah.
that was my life then.
Are you big into the barefoot thing at all?
Absolutely not.
No, you're not.
No.
I
Highly
don't know how it
against.
works when you get to the distances that you're doing.
Yeah. I don't know.
I like it, but I had a bad experience with
Okay.
it once too. I went into it too fast when I was in like high school and I got a stress fracture.
Yeah.
But that was my fault, and I've since gotten better, and now that's how I
I
roll.
also don't think the North Face would be happy for me to advocate no shoes because they just launched all their new trail shoes.
Well,
So-
keep in mind your sponsorships.
Yeah,
No,
right.
but the reason that you are sponsoring them is, or you're,
I'm
with them
sponsoring
is
them.
because you believe in what they do. Like,
Totally.
because you're not into it.
Right.
It doesn't work for you.
Right.
It's not your vibe.
Yeah.
I get
exactly.
that.
Like,
And
it's not my drug.
And also, like, I don't know that I really want to go up a mountain with my running sandals. That's
no.
pretty
Some people
sketch.
do, and that's their journey. That's
Yeah.
great for them.
I about lost a toe doing that once. It was pretty rough.
Okay, I
Just if
know.
you kick a rock the wrong way, it's just
I don't think that's a good idea.
a problem.
Yeah. So if you're not into that, get the North Face shoes.
North Face shoes.
Yeah.
I saw you guys were like testing some the other day.
Mhm. Yeah, yesterday it was really fun. Like we had a bunch of people at the trail and just brought a whole bunch out, and people got to try them out.
That's cool.
Consensus was very positive.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Yeah.
So that's my job. Like now I don't have to. Now I like promote flat running shoes versus high heels and baby gear.
Yeah. And it's better generally. You're
Sure.
having a better time.
Yeah, I would say like it's up to notch
Yeah.
for sure.
When did you meet your husband? Was that still when you were in that corporate world?
So he works at OtterBox, the cell phone case
Oh, cool.
company. And he and I met on day one that I was there. He's been there. He had been there for maybe 4 years before I was there. And met that way. And then so we met there. And so then I worked for Otter for 2 or 3 years, something like that. And then right before we got married was when I quit my job. So got married, quit, and then went into this whole world. And he's just been unbelievably supportive.
Does he almost always travel with you to the races?
For the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're headed to Switzerland to race in August. So he's coming to that.
Very cool.
And then a big goal this year is to make the World Mountain Championship, and that's in Thailand in November. So he'll come to that. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
That is so cool. Do you speak other languages?
I speak Spanish.
Oh, great.
So I majored in that in college, lived in Peru for a
Can
while.
you
as
tutor
well.
me? Because I am having just a hardest time.
But I could, but I wonder how rusty I am just because it's been years since I've
Yeah.
lived there and spoken it.
Andrea and I were having an argument this morning, a legit argument about language learning platforms,
Ah.
which is so funny because that's just what we do. I think we get too bored and then we'll just start a fight.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's normal shit. But we're both working on Duolingo, and I finally just kind of got back into it, and I'm like finally like, oh, the app's gotten so much better. And now she's like, oh, I think I want to try out Rosetta Stone, and I'm like, dude,
Or what about Babbel?
that's the new one, right? And I told her
think
you should
so.
check that out too.
Okay.
But what do you feel like worked the best for you? Obviously, I feel like going to the place and doing the immersion is the
so I
fastest way to
studied
work
Spanish from 8th grade all through college.
Okay.
And I only became fluent when I lived in Peru.
Yeah. How long were you there?
6 months.
Yeah.
You have to. You just got to get immersed, and you have to like have no other option.
That's so challenging.
It's scary too, and it's so interesting because you have to figure out a new way to express yourself because you don't have the vocabulary, you don't have the grammar,
the inflection.
and yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, so it's interesting. So I would just go take your RV like down to Mexico for a while.
We don't.
That's gotta be safe.
The nice thing about speaking Spanish is I don't even have to go into Mexico.
You're
really.
Right. Go down to Texas.
Just go to Texas.
Or Miami.
I have good friends that speak Spanish too, and so it's
there
like
you go.
It'll work.
Yeah.
So was the language thing the big reason why you became like a grammar nerd? Is it because you were such a student of language?
Yeah, I really enjoyed English class. I was just good at language arts, and I read since I was little. My mom's a big reader, and she always encouraged us to read. So I think I just liked that. I'm a huge stickler on your. Can't handle things like that. I don't know. I just I like
there.
I like the way that sentences are structured. I like words. Like I also am on Merriam-Webster's podcast. They give you a word a day. My favorite word right now is rococo, which is very, very fancy, basically.
Sure.
So like this podcast, very rococo.
Rococo? Wow, that's a huge compliment. Wouldn't we have to be speaking in French for it to be truly a rococo podcast?
I don't know.
Parlez-vous?
Oui, les poissons.
Si, croissants. And...
Si. Oui.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't love grammar enough, and it's a dying art form being able to write well.
I think so too.
Yeah.
However, I think it's just evolving. For example, one of my favorite things to do is to read rap songs because I really enjoy how they creatively structure it. And I think it is quite the skill to be able to use words in a creative way. Like Lin-Manuel Miranda does it amazing. Eminem does it amazing. Nicki Minaj even. Like some of these artists, I think that they're using it in a whole new creative
There is a gap
way.
though. There's like pop music that has really lost its way in terms of things, but then there's also like you've got Childish Gambino and you're like, okay, hello, how are you saying
There's a new song by Weezer that I can't handle because it's like all my favorite songs are sad. And then it like the next word is bad. The next word is mad.
I see.
And I just don't.
You want more creative rhymes.
Yeah. Like why isn't every song rococo?
Rococo. People, be a little more rococo in your lives. Well, I get it. And the interesting thing is like, how am I to define what language is? Like language will change. And at some point it'll be like, it doesn't fucking matter how you spell it as long as someone can say it. And pretty soon we'll all be neuralinked up and there will be no words anymore.
We're all speaking emojis anyway.
Yeah. We're just going back to hieroglyphs.
That's it.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
But I still love, like, I think that's the thing. If you love reading books, you get kind of sad when you see like major typos going on in huge accounts where it's like, that shouldn't be probably happening.
No,
and my team manages a ton of social media accounts and we watch for all of those and some still get through and it always disappoints me still.
Yeah.
Like, damn it.
Dang it. Come on.
You know, but it just happens. And I can't control all of it. And some of it will just get missed and some of it will be a typo and that is what it is.
Life. And
people really won't notice because the biggest accounts in the world write complete nonsense and it's fine. So apparently it doesn't really matter to people.
Yeah.
Affect and affect is my one that I really...
Addition.
Do people really mix those up?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I love the ones where people write complete nonsense like made dinner tonight, bone apple tea. Like where they really don't know what the word is.
I haven't seen that. I really like that.
That's a great one.
I need to send a text.
Oh, okay. If you need a rap weed, that's totally fine.
Maybe. I forgot that here's one of my personal pieces. I like stack my schedule.
I see.
And I get overwhelmed sometimes. And then I'm like, I'm going to have enough time to do all the things. So I just need to probably leave in about 15. I'll tell them that I will be about 10 minutes late.
This has been a great podcast.
So I'm sorry.
No, this is like...
I could have kept going. That's
we're
the
like
problem.
normal-ish podcasts.
We were starting to get
good.
into the addition of it.
No, it's getting weird at this point. People are like, can you talk about fucking running again? Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. In fact, that's about where I would have gone anyway. So you're totally fine. Don't even worry about it. Brittany, thanks so much for being on the podcast. This has been a total blast.
I really genuinely think you have a great skill a Rococo skill in this. I can't wait to go. I'm going to binge the rest of your episodes starting on
That is
episode
so
number
sweet of
1.
you. Oh, don't listen to those.
Probably start there.
I had great guests. It's not the guest's fault, but it takes a while to get good at this.
For sure. Oh, I think you're fantastic.
Thank you
Honestly,
so much.
I would never have guessed that you were, I don't know, what am I, 54? Number 54, 55,
Something like that.
Like, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you for not just asking a bunch of questions. Thank you for letting it be conversational and going down lots of rabbit holes.
You are the sweetest. Thank you so much. It was a total pleasure to do this episode. I really hope. So next time we're back in Denver, we'll have to get back together and you'll tell me all about all the new things you've been up to.
A lot of things to follow up, and we'll go
There's
for
a lot
a
of
run.
ground to cover. And we will go for a run. I will get in the shape for that.
Okay.
I'm going to get to your pace shape.
Well, I'm a coach, so I'll help you get there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Good luck on all your travels and journeys.
Thank you very much.
So exciting.
Yes. So thank you so much, Brittany. Thank you to the listeners, as always. Thanks to our sponsor, Track Farms, for the CBD, because that's keeping me going out here.
Nice.
And with my injury, it has been a big deal. Do you mess around with CBD?
No. Sometimes they advise us not to, just because we can get drug tested and it can seep in.
That's
I've
so
heard.
rough. Yeah.
So,
Well, it's like less than 0.03% THC or something, but it doesn't. I know those tests.
I would hate to
I
get tested and
I get it.
have to relinquish.
Which is crazy
my
because it's
crown.
really like pro athletes that need that
Right.
type of recovery the most. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could really take some serious benefit. Anyway, okay. But the world's changing and
Yeah.
a couple more years and everybody will be like, fuck it. Like,
Yeah.
like THC is helping you win a marathon for sure.
Yeah, please.
That's probably what it made you do.
Yeah, for sure.
It didn't make you sit on the couch every day. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Did I already do all this? I did.
You did. I'll plug myself.
Yes. Let's do your handles. Good God. I'm so off today. This is like doing my job for me.
No, it's okay. You can see our film, The Funny Runner, on YouTube. And you can follow me and all my craziness on @FunnyRunner26.2 on Instagram. I'm not active on Facebook, so don't get upset if I don't follow or anything on that. And then Justin's Sugar Cookies are Sugar Tats Cookies.
Sugar Tats Cookies. And I will take some pictures before I roll out here, so you can find those, as always, at DX in Life. And that's it, folks. As always, we will see you on the next episode.